Hi everybody, this is Judy at Judy in the Kitchen. Today I'm going to show you the easiest way I know to make homemade sauerkraut or fermented cabbage, and for me this has been a no-fail method. Now obviously we want a nice head of cabbage. This is a small head, so I'm not sure exactly how far this is going to go. But anyway, we'll find out. And the first thing I want to do is give it a good wash, a little rinse, which I've done. And I'm just going to take a knife here and just remove a couple of the outer leaves because I'm going to use those to help anchor the cut cabbage into the jar. And that's an important point because it will tend to float if you don't do that. And the next thing we want to do is cut this cabbage. And I have tried different ways of doing it. I've tried a food processor, but that makes it almost too fine. So I just cut it up by hand into small bite-sized pieces, and then I like to put it into a wide mouth mason jar. This is a half-gallon mason jar. You can use a quart size. I'm going to use this size and hope to fill it up. And if this is not enough vegetable to reach to the shoulder of the jar, we're going to add some other vegetables in there. It's important to fill your jar up to that point. So I'm going to cut this cabbage and then we're going to go from there. I got a nice big bowl full out of that small cabbage. I'm really surprised as to how much I got. Now a lot of people will just take salt and add that to the cabbage and massage it really well until the juices start coming out of the cabbage, and they use that alone. I have tried that method and it hasn't worked the best for me. I'm not downing that method. I think it's a great way. It's the most natural way to do it. It just hasn't worked as well for me. And I found another way that is just never failed for me. And I add a starter culture to it. This is the brand that I use. I'm not promoting any one brand over another. There are different brands out there. This happens to be what I have. It is not cheap, it's kind of pricey, but one box does go a long way. And it comes with 6 of these packets in there. And there are instructions on the packets that you can follow. But I have found this is based on weight of your vegetables, and I don't know how much weight is going to be held by a half-a-gallon mason jar. So I found another way to do this. And I use about 1/4 of a teaspoon of this starter culture to the half-a-gallon mason jar. Let me just see if I can pour that in there. And that is plenty to do. And even if you're a little shy on it, I may be a little short on this, I'm not sure. I'm not going to open another packet yet. Just slightly short of it, it'll be fine. And so, okay, we'll finish that out. You do want to keep that in the refrigerator. And now you need some filtered water that you know does not have any chlorine or fluoride in there. I happen to have distilled water to start with. This works well for me. And you want to dissolve that starter culture according to the package in 1 cup of the filtered water. And you can stir it up and allow it to sit there for a little bit. What I do really is kind of a quick way of it. I'll stir that up initially. I can just put my spoon right here in the cabbage, it'll be fine. And now I'm going to add the salt that I need. I generally add 1 teaspoon of, this is canning and pickling salt. I know it does not have iodine in there, and that's the type of salt that you want to use. Anything that does not have iodine. You can use pink Himalayan sea salt if you want to. I have just gotten the best results from this, and I happen to have a lot of this on hand, so this is what I use. And you want 1 teaspoon per cup of water. Now I'm going to go ahead and add the 2nd cup. This is a 2-cup measuring cup here. So I'm going to add the 2nd cup of water. So that's for my ratio that I like. 1 teaspoon of salt to 1 cup of distilled water or filtered water of some sort. Stir that up until you see that everything is well dissolved. I'm going to let that sit as I just start to load up this jar. Okay. Now, you can reuse the brine a time or two. So let's say I had some sauerkraut on hand, I finished the jar, and the brine has not been reused too many times. You can go ahead and pour some of that pre-made brine into this jar, and I'll fill it up maybe about an inch or so, and then I do not need to add the other culture to it. So that helps this to go that much further, okay? So you can do this more ways than one. You can use the starter culture, or you can reuse your brine, which I've done both, and that works just as well. As long as you don't reuse it too many times, you're fine. Now I'm just going to start adding the cabbage to the jar. Remember, everything's dry so far in that jar. I'm going to add some in there. And I do want that brine to be coating all of the cabbage. So I'm going to go ahead and start adding some of this liquid into the jar. And it took all 2 cups right there. And then you want to kind of squish this down some. Actually, I'm going to add some more cabbage before I do much more. A lot of people will use a tamper to do this, and that's a great way to do it. I just don't happen to own a tamper, and so I use what I have, which is just a wooden spoon here. And that helps to compact the cabbage some, break it up and compress it a little bit. And that's all I'm doing, is just helping to get it compact down in the jar. If you don't do this, you're going to find when you're all finished, you're not going to have that much sauerkraut. So you want to get as much in that jar as you can. You want to compress it. And you see I've got the liquid in there, so we're doing good. Now I'm going to make up some more liquid, and I'm going to go ahead. I know I'm going to need at least 2 more cups of water, so I'm going to get 2 more teaspoons of salt in there and add 2 more cups of water to my measuring cup. I'm going to stir it up to get that salt to dissolve. If a little bit of cabbage gets in the water, who cares? It's going to go in the jar. And we just keep on doing this same procedure until the vegetables are at about shoulder length on the jar. It's important to get the jar filled to that point. If you find that you don't have enough cabbage, this was a small one, I didn't know if it was going to work, you can add another vegetable to it. You can add some carrots, which work great with it. You can add some fresh cauliflower that you've cut up. You can even add green beans. Anytime you add another one, it might change the flavor just a little bit, but it's okay, it all blends out. The carrots work really, really well to me as an add-in if I need more vegetables in there to help fill the space. And we're just going to keep going with this until this jar is filled to the shoulder level. Alright, as you can see, these vegetables are just about where I want them to be. I could put just a tiny bit in there, but we're so close, I'm going to call it okay. If you don't put enough in there, it may not turn out right, so this is where the level is important. Now I've got the water covering all of the cabbage so far. Now here's where I'm going to use these extra leaves to help me out, and I'm going to just cut it down a little bit into a large piece here, and I'm just going to put it in here. This is going to be a barrier to help keep the little pieces from floating to the top, which they will do. Let's get another piece off of this one. And we don't want that. We want to try our best to keep them from floating to the top. And I think that is going to work. This one's a little bit big. I'm going to cut that down a little bit. Now, some people will use the core that they have saved and put it in here to help hold these things down. And just for your benefit, I'm going to do that. Cut that little piece off of there, whatever that is. And now you want to continue to add brine to this. You really want things covered up. And I have almost filled this to the very, very top with my brine. And all I'm going to do is cover this up, and I'm going to label the jar today's date and 10 days out. You just want to let this sit at room temperature in a cool environment, but not refrigerated temperature, for 10 days. And so I'll label it from today's date to 10 days out. You do want to watch it, because as it goes, as it ferments, bubbles will form and some liquid can come out. So periodically you want to just kind of check that water level and make sure that everything is continually covered. If the water level drops down, you want to add some more brine. So if there's extra brine that I've made up, I'll just put it in a jar and put it in the refrigerator and just have it, so that I can just readily add it to the jar if needed. Now, that having been said, because liquid can come out, you don't want to just set this on a shelf. You want to put a towel under it and maybe set it in a bowl or a pan or something that will protect whatever countertop you sit on. Now, I leave this out for 10 days. Some people prefer longer, some people prefer shorter times. So my suggestion to you is to taste it along the way. And when it tastes good to you, then you can call it done. Then you transfer it to the refrigerator and it's ready to be eaten whenever you want to eat it. Give this a try sometime and let me know how this method works for you. This is Judi at Judi in the Kitchen. Bye for now.